That's like $50
All right.
worth of hash back in the day.
Yeah. Probably still. I mean,
For real.
it's crazy. It was a gift. It's amazing. I can't wait to try it, but I'm not gonna. I'll try it in an hour.
Oh, welcome back to Wook Plus on Weekend Wook. I'm joined here today with our friends Benjy, Megan of HF Pod, and you guys know Kev, Great Wendt. We're here today to talk about the Jam of the Year for 2022. So we want to lay the groundwork for what we think makes a good jam. So Megan, why don't we start with you? When you're listening to a jam, what do you consider? What are you looking for, or what aspects of the jam make it great for you?
I want it to be interesting and I want it to go somewhere. Like I want it to be a journey. So I want it to start somewhere and end somewhere else, whether that means from light to dark or from dark to light. And I want it to have moments that kind of peak and build up to this like kind of triumphant feeling, or I want it to get super weird.
Yeah.
And I also like it if it's dancey.
Dancey is always a good quality in the jam. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Benjy, what do you think?
I would like to echo those sentiments, and I think to me the reason why I love Phish's jams and why I don't love a lot of other jam band jams, some for sure, but not others, and that's the difference between the ones that I love and the bands that I love, and the bands that I don't that also jam is when the jam is used as a vehicle and it's not soloing, but it's whole band improvisation. So type 2 is the way that, of course, we refer to it in our little Phish scene. But in the greater, spectrum of things, jazz musicians knew this very well. We have the head of the song, and then you have the bookmarks, right? But in the middle, it's like Gravity's Rainbow, where that rocket launches and achieves weightlessness for a little bit, and anything is possible. And the whole band is there on that spaceship together. And then the other thing for me for a great jam, not all great jams have to do this, but for me, when they go back into it, so it's like back into that tweezer, back into that Down with Disease, that's the payoff, because that music. But then all of a sudden they're doing, you're familiar with Tweezer, you're familiar with Dark Star, for instance, to jump to another band, right? You're familiar with Mike Song. But then all of a sudden they do something in it, and it's not like the jam that's on your tape that you've heard a million times in your car driving around town. It's a different jam entirely, and your brain is going, what is this? What is this? Oh my God, like it's processing it. And then all of a sudden they slam back into a Mike Song and then into Hydrogen or whatever, and the crowd goes wild. And that's what I'm looking for.
I think we've all said at one point or another, what are we in, or what song are we in, right? When it gets really spacey and you're out on a jam.
My favorite lot shirt of all time, it says Piper into Piper. For those 99, like for those Pipers from like the late 90s when it really would get far out there. And if you just walked into the show, you'd have no idea what they're playing. And
yeah.
Like, oh my God, they're still in Piper.
And I guess to combine what each of you are saying, I agree with the spacey type 2 going off, but it needs to be interesting, because that jamming as a band into that ether they don't always make the right decisions, right? And sometimes it can get very stale. So it's that leaping off the cliff and doing that kind of jamming, but making the right decisions and keeping it interesting and arriving at somewhere that's, enjoyable.
I think that's the reason why not every band, can do that. In fact, very few bands can do that. And I also think that's the reason why we're so forgiving as a fan base, because the only way that you can jump off a cliff is to agree in advance that sometimes you're going to land hard. Every time you dive off a diving board, sometimes you're not going to land that dive, and it'll be a flop, literally. But you get back up there and you do it again. And as a fan base, we are so forgiving of that, because if it was the Rolling Stones, I wouldn't be forgiving of it. I'd be like, I paid $300 for a ticket and they just fucked up a song that they play the same every night, But we're going to hear them play something that they've never played before, and to take those risks. And they know that they're going to fail some of the times, and that's bravery. And as a fan base, we're forgiving because it pays off. And when it does pay off, it's all is forgiven.
Yeah. Kev, what do you think? Do you have any other things you're looking for in a jam?
Yeah, my favorite Phish jams are where they lose what they're playing. You end up in Satisfaction. You end up in Jumping Jack Flash. They start playing a song, I think like Mule. I really felt like the Mule from Dix. They weren't really planning on playing it, and all of a sudden, here we are. They're my favorite jams, and they're a very elusive diamond to find, I guess.
So you like when their jams turn into Rolling Stones songs, I guess?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. I know you've mentioned to me in the past too how like when it feels like it's gonna fall apart.
Oh yes, I love
And
that.
I love that when they manage to hold on and retransform it into something new and but there are other times where like Phish is just hitting the cymbals and the toms and they're like kind of droning and vamping and then they just get really quiet and then they like number line or something, right? And I don't like that kind of falling apart, right? But like where it falls apart but they're all committed to
Split
making
open
it
and
work.
melt. When a split open and melt
Yes.
is right, it's completely, they're playing four different things at the same time, but they're all playing the song somehow.
But they're also
Well,
playing
it's
different
so
rhythms in
fun.
Split Open and Melt, which is crazy. They're all playing
Yeah.
different rhythms. That's crazy.
What
Well,
were
it's
you saying,
also so
Megan?
fun. I was gonna say it's fun when they kind of devolve a song or a riff in a jam, and then it becomes something else, and then they kind of creep out of that. That's just the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that kind of segue too. I guess
Mhm.
the thought of it just like I don't know, maybe I'm like hypercritical, but it feels like they can't find it. So then Trey's just like it's not really a ripcord because it's like dead, but he just
Mhm.
like jumps into something to like move it on. I don't know. Maybe it's like I've come to expect too much, but it can feel like, you know.
Another way that I sometimes look at it with jams that end up as a segue. It's like if every instrument was a marble, right? And a song is how the marbles are in your hand when you're closed fist. And then you just kind of drop them and they go all different ways. And then you scoop back down and grab them, and all of a sudden you're in Wikipod, or you're in a different song. And sometimes that doesn't work. One marble's over there, and Trey's like, "What are you guys doing? No, let's get the fuck out of here." And that's when you pull the ripcord, and all of a sudden it's number lined.
Yeah.
There were so many good segues this summer, though,
Yeah.
and throughout the year. I mean, they are just really good.
I wanted to see if there was, as we go back and listen to all these great jams from this past year, if there was a reoccurring theme or through line that any of you caught in the jams that could define the year per se.
I mean, for me, this has really been a digestion year. It's taking all the new sounds and all the new music from 2021 and like incorporating that into, their shows in 22. And I felt like this year got a bad rap because it came after 21, which was just a real high, I think, creatively. And I think the band is just so much new material, so much inspiration from being not on stage for so long that I think that this year really took a hit because 22 was a great year. I mean, looking at some of these jams, they were all really different. They're all really diverse. Like you've got some like space funk jams in the summer. You've got some really like dark monster sounding jams. You've got some really uplifting, like happy blissy jams. I think there's a lot of diversity in the jams this year.
That's interesting because I think that there was a lot of diversity in the jams, but I also think that when I think about this year, which I agree with you 100%, it's gonna end up with an unfair bad rep. And the fact of the matter is that it had a lot of gems in it, and it did have its own characteristic. Every year has its own characteristic if you listen to every note and analyze it. They're all postcards from a time and space. And I feel that this year, one of the hallmarks over 4.0 overall, but still different than 2021, is that they're so relaxed on stage, and that carries across into their jamming. Where, I mean, if you look at their body language, they look like they're in their living, Trey especially, where he used to be, come out and rocking, and now it's like he puts up his guitar, he's so relaxed, he could be walking across his living room, and which I think he consciously spent years and years and years trying to get to that place, because he used to always say that, the sound checks were the best because no one was there and they were relaxed. And, I think he tried to get there, and I think that this year they kind of did. The one thing that I think what Megan was saying, it plays entirely, correct. It's that, after 2021, it is, you use the term digestion year, which is amazing. I agree. I also think that one of the reasons why people are going to end up panning this year is because a lot of the jams were, if you go back and listen to 93, 94, and 2021 for that matter, and you listen to a minute or two of a jam, you can pretty much know what song it was, or you can pretty much identify it. And this year, as diverse as the jams were, a lot of them are very unattached from their songs. And
Totally.
so as soon as they're jamming, it's like, oh, they're in the Phish Jam right now. As opposed to, oh, they're really, oh my God, dude, they're jamming out its ice. They're taking it to a type
Right.
2 level. Instead, it's like,
I said that on the after shows a few times that they could have left the song out. They were playing a jam. They did a song and they could have just left the song out and played the jam for that 5
and
minutes.
It's like they meet in that jam. They're like, they play whatever song it is, Sigma Oasis, and then they're like, we're gonna meet in this space, but this space it's the jam room, and the jam room could take place in any one of their songs.
I heard a lot
there was
of
like that moment. Oh, sorry, Kev, where the songs were kind of like touchstones between jams. Like it didn't matter what they played, or they were just like stopping off.
But the
and
jams
then
are
moving
great,
on.
so there's no complaints.
I feel like that they were that Trey and Paige had been spinning the album they did together. I got lots of times this summer I'd hear passages where they were playing pretty off each other. It wasn't necessarily a funk jam or something, but there's more ambient, I guess, kind of spaces. But I felt like that they were. I mean, obviously they connect. They've been together forever, but it just felt like they had something working for a lot of this summer.
I think also maybe to put some final thoughts, I'll give you mine. I said I wasn't going to share my thoughts, but fuck it, we're here.
How can you not?
I think the size and the set list are what's going to give it an unfair rap and they're two different points but connected. Is in 21 and the end of 3.0, there were a lot of mega jams, a lot of 20 plus 30 plus jams, and this year was a return back to that like sweet bread and butter of like 11 to 15 with some 16 17s. And not that those jams were any less, but they didn't have the girth. So when you go back, it's like it's harder to find them because you can't just look at the set list for your timestamps and say, oh, there's the great jam, right? They were hidden. And then the other thing I thought was there were jams out of songs that you wouldn't expect to hear great jams out of this year that aren't, I think, traditionally or historically great jam vehicles, but they became good jam vehicles this year. And I think so if you just like do the cheap trick of looking at the set list and saying, oh, it was a good show because they played this song or that, you could look at some of these shows and say, oh, they weren't great set lists, but they had phenomenal jams. They were just out of songs that you wouldn't expect to get a great jam out of.
That circles back to what we were saying, though, that you're like the song you wouldn't expect to have a jam. It's because the song really was inconsequential.
It didn't matter what the song was.
And I feel like Phish does that. They do that repeatedly. Like every few years, it seems like they pull back, and I love, excuse me, I love the 20 plus minute jams, and I know that there's been some pushback on that, and I love that. I go 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Not every minute's gonna be incredible, but I love the journey. So I love the lulls even because those the longer the jam, to me, it's more of a chance for them to tell the story, and I'll take the slow parts. I'll take the parts that the minute or two where they're searching. Because then all of a sudden the Tahoe Tweezer really is a great example of that. Because there's minutes, there's entire sections of there where by itself it's like, okay, where are you guys going with this? And then they find it and then they go with it. And it's to me, it's all about the payoff, and I'm willing to put in the work. That said, Tim, you're completely correct in that when they do these years where they have micro jams, where it's 11 to not even micro jams, they're real jams, 11 to 16 minutes. But they're just shorter on a set list. Even me, I'm guilty of it. I'll look at the set list and I'll glance over it. I'll be like, okay, cool. Where's the jam?
Oh, 9 songs in the second set. Skip.
Yeah, but at the same time, you listen to some of those, and to me, some of the greatest shows of the past year, they had the 2 shows that were rainouts. And if you look at the set list, they're not like they jam pack a lot of songs in there. They're not jamming for long. But those 2 shows were phenomenal shows with lots of improvisational ideas and just extra mustard, as extra mustard. Yeah.
That Dick's Lightning Round was my favorite show of the year.
Yeah.
I just did Stub Me Down, and they asked me to pick a show, and that was the first one. And it's not that it was the best show, but it was my personal favorite.
All killer,
the
no
experience too, right?
And Pine Knob was the other one that got
so good.
And what a great, exactly right.
But Phish they always reward fans for dealing with rain delays. That's like his story.
And then the ultimate was Shoreline, when they had to move it from Tahoe, and they ended up with
exactly.
Both of those shows.
Yeah, that was the Soul Planet.
Yeah.
So that was the Soul Planet and the Tweezer, and the 30 whatever minute Tweezer, which was also phenomenal.
Yeah, that show was incredible.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan though of a shorter jam. I have like 7 top jams of the year, 7 or 8, and 2 of them are short. Like they're not long, but they're super weird and cool and interesting and things we didn't expect. So
I've
I like
gotten
the shorter
away
jams.
from I've gotten away from the length isn't the thing at all. A lot of times the length you have to cut out 5-10 minutes of it anyway just to have the good stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
So
to me, it's an indicator. First of all, like 20 plus minutes does not mean it's a great jam, and just like 11 minutes doesn't mean it's a bad jam. But
Exactly.
that being said, if it's over 20 minutes, it automatically means they're doing something. They're going for something. So let's hear
They're
it.
interested in something.
it's
See,
passing the
I-
tray
and
filter.
I don't cut out. I don't cut out the fat. Like I want the fat. Bring the whole thing. I want the whole, because it's like I said earlier. It's the lows that get you to those peaks.
Yeah.
All right, so this is how I think we should do this. We're gonna give the bronze, the silver, and the gold for each of you individually, your jam, round the horn style. And then I guess if somebody mentions one that you had and you have another one, you can, give it an honorable mention and bring in another one. But I think that's the easiest way. So let's start bronze and let's start with Kevin, work our way horseshoe
Around.
style.
all right. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the year and throw out the Wolfmans from Mexico. I thought that they really
Mm.
they opened up the year strong with that. I was like perked my ears up. So
Wow. I never remember Mexico when we do these
Yeah.
things.
Same.
That's right.
It doesn't
what,
exist.
Kevin,
It
you
doesn't
just
count for
gave,
stats.
that's right, Kevin. You just got me a little excited because I made a mental note. Go back and listen to that Wolfman's tonight. So
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
All right,
Awesome.
Megan, where's your bronze?
I think my bronze is a short jam. It's themed from the bottom at MSG this year, 12, 29, 22. One of the longest in history. It's just under 15 minutes. Funky, funky jam. Trey's on the effect pedals, and it's got this super weird, big, evil spaceship landing ending. It's so cool. In the moment, we were like blown away. It's like, this is a song that just brings me back to like 95, and you never expect it to go long. And here it is, like getting weird and like becoming everything you always wanted theme to become. So I loved it.
That's a great choice. That was an awesome jam.
Mm-hmm.
Benji, what do you got for your bronze?
Well, Megan, first of all, thank you for bringing that jam up, because that was such a phenomenal moment. I just remember afterwards being so like proud or happy or something.
Elated.
You did it, guys. Yeah.
They did it. My bronze actually comes from that same show, from 12:30, right? That's when the theme was
29.
29.
Oh, 12:29. That's right. Oh yeah, no, it's mine. Oh yeah. Okay, well, so mine comes from the New Year's run from 12:30, and it's Golden Age. And the thing is that there were a few. It was a good year for Golden Age, and they had a pattern this summer actually. Maybe they did it twice. I want to say they did it 3 times, but I can only think of 2 offhand. And that's when they did Golden Age and their Lonely Trip, and they paired them together.
Mhm.
It's like a good old school David Bowie Life Boy. It's like I feel like it's the new
Yes.
version, like Golden Age, Lonely Trip. It made so much sense to me. And, you do this Golden Age, and then it lands in this beautiful ballad. But I was really, Golden Age. Every song has that narrative arc where there are some years where it really jams, and then some years that they're just playing it. I think we're seeing the inverse happen with Mercury lately, where Mercury is not getting the attention that it deserves, but Golden Age is. And so they had a few really good ones this summer. And the one from Alpine Valley is a contender for a top jam of the year. But the one at MSG, at one point, the reason why I like it so much is at one point Trey goes and speaks into the band microphone, where only the band can hear him. And he says something, and I thought for sure that he was giving them the next song, meaning that they're about to go into it. This was early on in the jam, and the jam wasn't really going many places at that point. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Like they're going to go into something. And instead, whatever he said, it was probably like, let's keep here or stay here,
Awesome.
and and from there they do another 10 minutes. And that's when it gets really, really good. So
that's like the thing you can catch when you're at home that you can't catch in the room. So like I love hearing that, because that set being in the room was so awesome. I mean, the whole set's amazing. That sand is definitely like on my list, not top 3, but that sand is sick. It's just so
Well,
good. That whole set was beautiful played. I
He
loved
he
it.
did the same thing in that No Man's. The No Man's at the beginning, I wasn't that into it. I was like, like, where's this? And then Trey said something, to his bandmates in the microphone.
Double time.
And then, I love to. So he used to, it drove me nuts. I mean, as we all know, he would go over to the piano, to the drum mic, when he'd lean over and tell Fishman. And now instead, he's going back to the old model where it's his mic and he just presses that, it's like a pedal. He presses the pedal and all of a sudden his microphone won't go into the speakers, but it'll go into his bandmates' ears. And so
It'd be funny if he missed the pedal and just said something really fucked up to the whole.
Fuck you, Mike.
Damn it, Mike.
Yeah, this sucks.
Yeah.
Mike, get your shit together.
Why we got pickle Mike? We all went right to pickle
turned
Mike.
you up, Mike.
Or Fish, that's not the tempo. Come on, Jesus. But whatever he said, it was one of those things in No Man's where I was like, this is going nowhere. And then Trey said something to the mic, and I thought, oh, he agrees with me. And then another 10 minutes where I'm like, wow, this, so that's really what happened with that golden age. Yeah.
So what's your number 2 then, Benji? We'll go reverse order, snake order.
My number 2 is from Hartford, Connecticut, from this summer. A song I heard the ocean sing.
Oh, interesting.
Cool.
I haven't learned to listen to that in a while. That one.
There's context for it too, and that's that it was early on in the tour. It was the third. No, it wasn't the third night. It was a week into it, and
that was the Sunday after. I forget where we came from, but I remember being tired as fuck. I think Bethel. We were at Bethel Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday at Hartford.
Right, it was that one night in Hartford.
That's right. Yeah, the one night in Hartford. It was a Sunday night, and they had the Wave of Hope, which was Wendt Type 2, and it got out there. But for me, it got out there, and it was cool because it was one of the first times that we saw a Wave of Hope in that role, which now we can, now we know where it belongs. But at the time, like the band was even figuring it out,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that particular one was exciting at the time because of that. But upon re-listens, it's like, okay, cool. They're figuring out that they can jam this song. They'll get there. And then they go into a song you heard the ocean sing, and it just out the gate, it soars.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's actually the first one mentioned tonight that I have on my short list. And I had it as a pair because I feel like it really benefited from Wave of Hope into
100%.
it.
Wait, we can have pairs?
Well,
Yeah,
I
seriously, we
do.
didn't
I have
know
a pair.
that,
I have a
man.
pair.
Wow.
No, I have a pair for my gold for my gold medal gets a pair. But Tim, I'm so glad that it made your short list because
Yes,
and I
it's
agree
on
with
there.
you. It's the two, like I said, like the Wave of Hope was exciting because it's like we're gonna jam, and then a song you heard the ocean sings like we got this.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I love that.
All right, Megan, silver medal jam of the year. What do you have?
It is Cross-Eyed and Painless from Bethel 723. I just fucking love when this song jams. It's like so rhythmic, so dancey, hypnotic, sexy. Fishman is just doing that cross-eyed like riff the whole time. That's just like galloping and just does not stop. And Trey's repeating this like riff over and over again. And then Paige just comes in with these like crazy synths. It's just, and then the ending is really cool because it sounds like they're going to go back into the song, but they don't. It's good. It's like 17 minutes of just
Goodness.
good shit. Yeah. I love it.
And it's the night before the Hartford. That was a really great weekend. It's funny. This one's also on my short list, but with the Set Your Soul Free. And I don't know. I can do what I want because they go back into Cross-Eyed. And so they bring it all together and they do that mashing. No, that Cross-Eyed was phenomenal. I agree 100% with that take. All right, now we're on to something. I like where we're at with this. You guys are spot on. Kev, don't fuck it up, man.
I'm going with the Simple Egg Simple from April. I forget which night it is exactly. I don't think that they planned on playing Egg in a Hole. I think it was audible in the middle of the simple, and then they went back into the simple. So it got ugly, it got dirty and nasty, and Egg in a Hole is just fun because it's what Phish is to me. The stupid lyric, the what the hell is that even about? I was like, yes.
I remember that.
was so fun. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great pitch. That was a great moment.
I love the
remember them, like,
global
laughing.
realization too, because people
Yeah.
like figuring out like, what is this? Oh yeah, it's, you know what I mean? Because like that was the
Yeah.
first time they played it after Halloween, so like the like realization going across the arena is awesome.
Oh, and the band was like laughing hysterically, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. I remember they were like, I get a hole. I mean, that song's so stupid anyway, but like they were all laughing. It was so funny. It
Yeah.
was such a fun
was-
moment.
So fun.
I'm
Yeah.
very glad that they did the Sci-Fi Soldier just for the fact that you got that and grandstands and handstands in grand fashion, and to a lesser degree the Howling, because they're running that one in the ground. But that's another story.
I love the Howling. I like
I
all
love
of
the
them. Though.
Howling.
I did too. I did.
Oh,
I
but-
also,
Like
I also
4
thought it
times
was
this year, and
interesting.
everybody's like,
to-
they're running this shit into the ground. You're like,
Yeah.
fuck, they played it like
I-
4
I-
times.
Totally. Yeah, that's right. That's right. 100.
Damn it.
I stand with Megan, and also the other thing too is with the Howling. I was very surprised to rediscover that the Howling is referenced in the lyrics to Forward People, and so it's one of the Trey
Tie it
multiverse.
together.
Yeah, one of the multiverse
Hmm.
things that the band does. But yeah,
Well, I will say
Oh,
right now, what
yeah.
you're seeing on screen, well, not you guys, but the people watching in post, is a picture of the Howling footy kit that is co-sponsored by Wook Plus, and you have a short period of time left to order it. So go ahead over to Footy Kits and pick up your
TikTok.
Howling. Yeah, time's running
I mean,
out.
who doesn't love like a get down funk dance party? Like, what's wrong with you? Like,
Amen.
you don't like to have fun? Come on.
Kev, why don't you give us your big gold medal of the year?
Ooh.
My big gold medal is going to be the 6-4 Wave of Hope, because I really felt like they had played it in April, and then that was the second time, I guess, they broke it out, maybe the third, but I think the second time.
That was the
and,
Deer Creek Wave of
Yeah.
Hope.
and
Deer
it
Creek
just
Night Parade.
completely opened up. I don't think they expected it to open up, and it got more, for lack of a better term, Grateful Dead-y.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't have that at my upper echelon list, but the thing I remember about that Wave of Hope from Deer Creek is I felt like it saved the spring tour. Not to be too negative,
Yeah,
but
totally.
the spring run was rough, and
Yeah,
that
but-
was at the end of Deer Creek, and I felt like it was like, oh, good, there's Phish is still Phish. Like
But
I was
they're
getting a
all-
little nervous there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
There's
real.
also the Simple from Charleston that makes that. You know, this, when I think about that spring run, I think about the Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
which
really good
also
too.
great. Yeah.
All right, Megan, what's your gold medal jam of the year?
It is the Down with Disease from Atlantic City on 8/5. This was just part of a magical second set, and I have a lot of attendance bias because the show was just incredible. It was one of those sets when you know it's that good while it's happening, and everybody's looking around like, this is really good fucking Phish. Like, it was so dark, powerful, authoritative, monster sounding. And then you've got the Midnight Rider tease in there, Kev. It's like perfect. So good. And it
It was
ends
so fun.
delicately. Just gorgeous. Love this Down with
Yeah,
Disease. This is the jam I've gone back to the most this year.
I was on Twitter going, "What is that? What is that? Wait, it's an Almond
Yeah.
Brothers song."
And shout out to
good.
that night, because I actually have that, and the Sigma from that night was also a
Yes.
top tier jam from the year. So that was one of those phenomenal nights.
Well, yeah,
For
that was
sure.
one of my
That
runner-ups.
whole show. Yeah, the Sigma is like in the first set. And then from that on, the whole rest of the show is just like absolutely perfect. And the free encore.
Sigma's become a monster
It's the best. I
since
love it.
Dick's last year.
Yeah.
And the free in this encore is incredible too. And that's on my list too. It's really, really great. Space funk, pure fun.
All right, we need an intro for Benjy's.
Benjy, what is
Drum
your
Well,
what is your jam of the year?
well, Jesus fucking Christ, Megan. My jam of the year is Down with Disease. Into Ruby Waves, back into Down with Disease. August 5th, Atlantic City. And and as you guys are talking about that show, I also have to add, I think that was the show of the tour. There's no attendance bias here. I wasn't at the show. That Down with Disease, hands down, is absolutely the show of the jam of the year. 17 minutes into it, they do the Midnight Rider jam, and it's a full-on jam. It's just that with Trey using the different tones, it's almost like he's trying to fool you. It's like, you know, he's like transcribing the song into something different, into like an arcade version of the song. But it's absolutely Midnight Rider. and then the Ruby Waves that follows. I look at it as one jam, as because Ruby Waves is sandwiched by Down with Disease, right? And the music doesn't stop. And the whole night was just it was the show of the tour, but it was the jam of the year, hands down.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that was my
Also,
show of the year until I saw the MSG run. And then I think 29th, 30th, either one of those in my mind might have topped it. But
yeah, the 29th and 30th are definitely, they get on the podium. But the other thing too about that Down with Disease, it does everything that we talked about earlier on in this program, which was that it goes places. And also, if you play me 2 minutes of that jam, I'm probably liable to be able to identify it. Whereas it's not just from a Sigma Oasis, it's not just from some jam that they did, some tweezer that they did this year. It's very much the August 5th, the August 5th, 2022 Atlantic City Down with Disease. It has its own character, its own identity.
You know what I love about this? Disease is in a lot of ways back because, I mean, it's always been a good jam vehicle, but it kind of, I mean, I hope this isn't heresy, but it was a little bit boring for a few years there where it's like they would just do a standard Disease jam. And this year, if you look back, even before you see the Banger Disease, which was the first and I think the longest Disease or the longest jam of the year. It was phenomenal.
The Banger Disease was definitely on my short list. And when they did the Atlantic City Disease, I remember talking with my friends and having this conversation about Disease was taken out of the rotation. They only played 2, and the 2 that they played were both the jams of the tour so far. We had that night on August 5th. That night, it was which obviously one of these diseases is going to be the jam of the year. Which one is it going to be?
So something. Wait a minute. Something we didn't mention. None of us did, which I'm surprised. The Deer Creek Sand. What about that?
I was just going to give this is for the credits. Wook's honorable mentions as the credits roll and we all say good night. I had the Deer Creek Sand, the Blossom Free, and from MSG in April, the No Man's on 423 was another honorable mention for me. Go ahead and let us know in the chat if you agree with us or what you think the jam of the year was. Like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. We have a lot more content coming out this year. Also, check out HF Pod. You'll see Megan and her awesome co-host. Benjy does all sorts of crazy shit. I don't know what's next. I mean, Undermine just closed out and, you're going on the road soon. But you have anything you want to plug, Benjy?
No, I'll be playing with the Sand next week, and after that, there's more coming from Undermine and Osiris, and there's more on the horizon.
Awesome, that was really fun. Thanks, guys.